Hello, everybody. So happy to connect to each one of you all over again through our talk, Pandemic Positive, there is always a way out. We at Sharan are consistently trying ways and means in which we can inspire all of you to look at the pandemic in a positive manner. Today, both our guests have used the lockdown in a very positive manner. As COVID 19 continues to affect our daily life, most of us are trying very hard to find the silver lining. Certainly, we have a choice of how to look at the whole situation. The crisis has actually given us a lens through which we can redefine our vision for future. There is definitely a certain optimism that we can keep for the situation. Let me tell you why. Throughout the past pandemic, terrible events have led to major transformation, great transformation. Let me give you some examples. The plague of 1300s, the plague that happened in 1300, actually gave us the modern employment contract. The cholera epidemic that happened in the mid 1800 actually gave us better infrastructure. The 1918 Spanish flu actually revolutionized the healthcare throughout human history. Crisis has been very pivotal in developing societies. Think about it. When was the last time you had a great idea and had no time to implement it? The pandemic is actually giving you that pause, that nudge, and telling you this is the time to implement it. Let's accomplish it. So we need to completely let go of all that mental map, the old mental map that we are holding, and actually adapt ourselves to the new normal. It's all about, in the face of adversity, how do we facilitate our own growth? Many people have actually found the pandemic as an eye opener. Entrepreneurs are actually seizing the opportunities that are coming their way. They're reinventing their business or trying to see how they can do this. Positivity, optimism, vision, passion are few of the building blocks to be a successful entrepreneur. Both our guests tonight have loads and loads of these qualities and much more. So, without further ado, I would like to invite our first guest, Varun Sharma of Bodhi Greens. Varun, please welcome to our show. We're so pleased to have you here. Varun is just
Hello,
25 years
Sandhya.
old. Hi, Varun. Varun is just 25 years old. In the lockdown period, he not only reinvented his business, he actually found the teacher in him. Today, he is a facilitator teaching people all over, especially chefs, about whole food, plant based diet. So, today he's here to tell us about his journey from an animal activist to an entrepreneur. I'm so excited to hear him all over again, along with all of you. So happy to have you, Varun. Varun, tell me
So happy to
something.
be here. Thank you so much.
So let's start with a very basic question. When did you actually turn vegan, or what happened that propelled you to turn vegan?
So it's actually a very long story, but I'll try to keep it as short as possible. I
Okay.
went vegan some 7 years ago. I was an animal rights activist. I had gotten into rescuing animals, and I kind of got addicted to the idea that okay, there's so much suffering. I need to save the animals, but somehow I was only helping dogs and cats. I would never go to the cow shelter. In the same SPCA where I was the volunteer, Sector 38 Chandigarh, I would volunteer in the same shelter. Some one third of the section would be for other dogs and cats and kites and pigeons and all the other animals, and the two-third of the section would be for cows. And I would never go there. Just maybe get some water or some food for them. And then I uh, became a vegan naturally without really knowing anything about the animal rights side of it. I was going to the animal shelters every day, but didn't know nothing about animal cruelty. Only about dogs and
Okay.
cats I was aware of. So what happened? Then I was told by then I read a book by Dr. Richard Openlander. It's an amazing book called Comfortably Unaware, and I kind of did my research about how bad the environment uh, degradation is in India, and that inspired me to go vegan. So I was already on a pandemic-free diet and eating. I was already off dairy, off meat, off eggs, almost off eggs also, and uh, then I watched this video called "Horrors of the Indian Dairy Industry." It's on YouTube by PETA India, and that blew me away, and that converted me. It was very easy for me to make the switch at that time because I was already a vegan and I didn't really know much about because I was already aware of the environmental side of it and I had become vegan. And when
Okay.
I watched this story, I shifted towards animal rights, and that's how it started.
Okay. So you did so much of animal rights initially in your life. How did you get into advocacy? That is, doing vegan outreach, actually educating people about it, because that is actually a little different from the activism that you were doing. You were working with animals, and now you're working with people to tell them about the animals. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey too?
Sure. So when I was an animal rights activist, it was very, very sad. We were going to the High Court, filing writs in the High Court. We were going to the municipal corporation office and trying to get changes done in the policy. And we were working every single day at the animal shelter, and nobody would listen to us. No, none of my friends had any idea what my lifestyle was, how many animals have died in these two hands. Then, and it still gives me goosebumps to think of that time when I was working days and nights to work for helping animals who were voiceless, and they would just take them away. The babies were separated, mothers were killed, male cows were starved, and all of this suffering I could not do anything about. I was very bound. So when I became an advocate around the same time, so just that when I became an advocate, it became I started feeling respected, and people start to change their diet, and I realized that I can have a much bigger impact if I start to speak about animal rights instead of just working as an animal rights activist. So it was not an easy
Okay.
shift. It was a gradual 4 year shift, but it eventually happened.
Okay. That's very interesting. So, where did you do your advocacy? You did it in schools, colleges?
Exactly. It was all in Chandigarh, the city beautiful, we call it. It's the cleanest, as you know, the city in India. And it is the heart, it's the dairy capital of India. The amount of dairy and butter chicken is the state dish, the capital dish of Chandigarh as a city. So it was not easy to do activism. Sometimes when we were in advocating, let's say on the streets or trying to, if we would get attacked but back by the people. They would be like, what else do we do then with the cows? We have to do all of these things to the cows, otherwise we can't get milk. What do you want to spoil our livelihoods? And then we would kind of have to calm them down. But when I did it in schools and colleges, I realized that targeting young minds was so good. If as long as the teachers don't have a problem, the students always listened. They because their hearts are so pure, they would just listen to all of the information that I was just sharing with them. And many of them would message me that yes, we're changing our diet slowly. So in fact, the name Bodhi came from one of the campaigns that I organized some 4 years ago. It was
Okay.
when yeah, with Rotract Himalayan. It's an organization. It's the youth wing of Rotary International, and they gave me this
Okay.
opportunity to organize an event where we spoke in 16 schools across the Chandigarh city, government and private schools, some top schools of the city, and we covered some 3,500 students and conducted workshops on how we can go on a plant-based diet and what are the benefits of a plant-based diet and all of this. So that
Okay.
gave me much more confidence to become an advocate and slowly
Okay.
stop doing activism. Yes,
Okay. Yes, it's lovely the way you have, the transition has been so beautiful. And I'm sure your advocacy is so strong because you actually experienced it firsthand. I'm sure you can reach people's heart a lot more stronger than any of us. So please tell me, is there people who inspired you in that field? Did you look up to anybody or somebody whom you followed? Or on your way, who are the inspirations? Who were your inspiration? Can you name a few of them?
definitely. Definitely. So, when I just started this journey, I was the first time I entered an animal shelter. It was it was SPCA Sector 38 Chandigarh. The amount of smell that I was getting from that place put me off. I couldn't sleep that night, and uh, and it was so horrifying. Those images, did not want to go there. But then there was Dr. Nandini there. Dr. Nandini is a lawyer, and the way she was handling animals, picked up sick dogs and injured dogs and dogs with maggot wounds without any compromise. She did, and the most aggressive dogs would behave calm with her. They would suddenly become babies from aggressive. So seeing her do this gave me the confidence. And then one of my classmates, Ayushi, she put me into animals. She's like, okay, why don't you do animal rights if you love animals so much? And that at that time I used to be like, okay, what is there in animals anyways? And she said, why don't you come with me to the shelter? So she was the one who inspired me to go. And I remember that day when the first time I went there and I saw Dr. Nandini work, I that was the game changer of my life. I could no longer keep my eyes shut to all of the cruelty that is happening in the to the animals, and I slowly just became my life became for animals afterwards. So then there's
Okay.
so many activists to name. There's one of my favorite activists is Mr. Udit, and Udit is what my life was 4 years ago, spending days and nights with animals, having animals die in your hands every single day. His life is still that. He's working on the field. He's working with municipal corporations. He's working with high court. He's working with different policy at different policy levels and trying to bring those changes. So a
Okay.
lot of inspiring personalities, really.
Okay. So how did you, from an activist, you became an advocate, and how did you become a chef?
So another interesting story. When I became and when I was an advocate, I was speaking in schools and colleges, and when students asked me so many interesting questions about, okay, how can we do this and how can one of the students I remember, I think this was in Sector 12, Chandigarh, and he asked me, this young kid, I think he was in ninth grade, he asked me this question, sir, I am so inspired by your talk, because it was 1.5 hour talk and come workshop where we would make them taste alternatives and tell them the ethical aspect of going plant-based, vegan, and everything. So he said, I'm so inspired, but what is the best thing for me to do if I want to change this right now? And that is that's the exact question I wanted to answer to myself. That is this really something that is the best thing I can do to create change? Then I read this research from the Good Food Institute, and I'm so thankful to them and their work in this field. And the biggest thank to International Conference on Animal Rights, where I I realized that in order to make everybody eat plant-based food, we need to make it convenient. We need to make it accessible and affordable. And that was I didn't have to think twice. I immediately started Bodhi Green. From Bodhi, it became Bodhi Greens, Enlightened Vegetables. And I started doing soya milk, cashew milk, coconut milk, and then slowly started doing uh, uh, f- uh, different foods, desserts, beverages, all kinds of things. And then
Okay.
started learning with chefs, started working with a few chefs, and became a chef
Okay.
eventually.
That is so interesting. So tell us about the first restaurant that you opened, and what was your biggest learning from opening that restaurant? Because if I'm not mistaken, your first restaurant was in Dharamshala, isn't it?
Yes, yes. My first restaurant was in Dharamshala. It's a place called McLeodganj. It's the heart of the city. And we were
Okay.
paying an exorbitant rent there. We were paying 250,000 rupees a month, and the landlord was not supportive at all. We kind of put ourselves in a situation where we were being used, and the landlord couldn't see it. We tried to put this into his eyes, but anyways, the situations kept becoming worse and worse and worse, and I ended up losing 43 lakh rupees, 4.3 million rupees I lost. And it was a big lesson. Well, the entire budget was only 2 million. We ended up losing 4.3 million rupees. So it was
But
a big
tell
loss.
me
That
something, Varun. Sorry to interrupt you, but how did the thought come that you want to open a restaurant? Where did that thought come from? Because you are
Yes, yes.
doing well with the alternatives, you just thought that let me open a restaurant. Was it that?
No, no, no. So what happened? Uh, there's this amazing personality. His name is Robin. He's from People Farm, and
Okay,
he opened up a farm in Kangra, which is my hometown. And I
okay, okay,
just got in touch with him. I saw his work on Instagram, and he's very famous these days on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, especially on YouTube. His videos are spectacular. And in his farm, he does animal rescues and all the work that I was doing. And suddenly I had become an
okay,
entrepreneur from the same thing that
okay,
Robin had just gotten into. So he started an activism, and I quit activism to become an uh, advocacy. I quit to become an entrepreneur. So
okay,
and he says he would want to invest. So that's how I ended up in Dharamshala at the first place.
okay, okay,
And
okay.
the first restaurant
So
wasn't a
after
success, but
having
then this, yeah,
So after opening the first restaurant, and as I can gather, you did not do well. It took a toll on you financially, but you mustered
yes,
courage
yes,
to open one more and again in Dharamshala again. So how did you do that, and what
yes,
did you
yes,
do
yes.
differently this time?
So the first time we were catering to, because of the whole rental situation, the whole financial situation, I realized that this is not the right place for the kind of food that we want to do. And then we found a place some 3 kilometers uphill, because Dharamshala is a mountain. Excuse me.
Okay,
It's a mountain region. So the higher you climb, the lesser the people there are, the less traffic, and the cheaper the properties are. And we found this beautiful paradise place called Dharamkot, which is in Upper Dharamshala. And in Dharamkot, we started the kitchen, and day one we made twice the money we needed to make break even, because it was the rent was 12 times cheaper in that place. And day two around 12 times more. So it was suddenly a success. I gained confidence that the same style of food that I was doing, it could work very well in a different location if I figure out the entrepreneurial side of it, if I figure out the business aspect of it. I, I, I and definitely my business plan, my business model keeps evolving. And as you know, I've become a chef who's training in culinary schools now. So it has been a whole journey. And business models, successful entrepreneurs are those who are able to change their business model. Like YouTube was used to be didn't a whole another thing, and now it's a live video streaming kind of a thing. Uh, so they have also changed. So all successful entrepreneurs have been constantly evolving their business model. So definitely, as a chef, to gain confidence in my food was the biggest treat. And to know that my menu can work, my idea can work, was the biggest testimony. So that's how it all worked out. And when Dharamkot
okay. So
became a success, yeah,
So Dharamkot
yeah,
basically, according to you, keeping your overheads low and keeping the menu completely under your control and having people appreciate that
exactly,
menu gave you confidence to keep going. And then it gave you so much
definitely,
confidence that today you have Bodhi greens at Leh and Goa, isn't it?
exactly. Yes, yes. Now I have three
How
restaurants,
do
but
you do that? Now that you have so many places, how do you manage that? How did you envision that? That you can have something in Goa, you can have something in Leh. How did that thought come, and what drove you to do
yeah.
this?
It is a mix of a lot of things. Especially because of my dad, he's been the biggest support, and my brother. My dad and my brother, they're like equal partners in this business. So my brother is currently managing my Dharamshala restaurant, and he was never
Okay.
a chef, never a cook, but he had to kind of learn with it with time. And there is staff to take care of the place, but yeah, because of the whole COVID situation and our business is completely dependent on tourists, we could not really cater to the same uh, uh, volume of people. We were no longer making the same volume of food, like maybe even 20 times less volume we're making now. So we had to evolve the business model entirely.
Do you rotate your staff between Leh and Dharamshala, or is it separate set of staff that you've trained? Okay.
Dharamshala
So,
season and the Ladakh season, Goa season is March to
oh,
November, November to March, and Ladakh is from June to September. So that's how we kind of shift places with almost the same
okay.
staff.
So, okay.
Yes,
So all of them are trained by you. So you have a trained staff, right?
yes,
You train them on
yes,
whole
yes.
food, plant-based
I
food.
was,
Fantastic.
yes, yes, yes.
So I want to know, with the lockdown, your restaurant business really, really had a lot of difficulty surviving. How did you overcome this lockdown period? What did you do differently? And how did you reinvent yourself? We really want to know that.
Yeah. So because I was running three restaurants and I also happened to have a small little soya milk factory where we also make soya milk, tofu, tahini, peanut butter, and all of these amazing products.
Mm,
And managing all of these businesses together was a little bit too much. So lockdown came at like a blessing in disguise. Like I had
okay.
to ask most of my staff to leave, but at the same time, I had so much more free time for myself now, and I had always interest in psychology. I was always reading psychology, so I took a deep dive into trauma, into studying my own childhood, and into understanding who I truly am, and all of these beautiful things. And so I could better my own everyday experience. And then this opportunity from Human Society International to start to teach in online in all of these culinary schools across the country, and they found my skills valuable enough to be shared in all of these schools. And kind of I designed a few modules for them that they really liked and they approved, and we now have successfully trained so many, like 1100 plus students in this field.
Wow.
In Yeah, we've trained 1100 plus students, and most of them, I would say more than 90%, I think 98% of them are interested and have said yes to a full-fledged course. And we are also slowly trying to work in towards building a course that would be taught across the country in all culinary schools. So chefs, it will be the first time in the world that chefs in a mainstream culinary school will learn how to make plant-based, vegan, whole food. So
Amazing. We're
this
looking
is the
forward to
biggest
that
achievement in
module.
the lockdown. Yes, so
Yes,
a
it
lockdown
is.
came
It
as a
is.
blessing in disguise, and I had a lot of time to self introspect and see what I truly want to achieve in life. And because the business, to be very honest, is almost 20 times less in volume right now, and we
Yes.
are it's not that we're not selling. We have clients, we have patrons, but the business is running at a loss at the moment. So I'm able to fund it because of my job at the
Okay.
moment, and but really hope that some and we're all obviously also changing our business model. Before our 20% of the clients were Indian, and now it's almost 90% of our clients that are Indian. So we're slowly evolving our menu to cater to more Indian client, and more many we have are having some amazing success with trials. And above all, lockdown gave me so much time to experiment with recipes that I always wanted to create, that would be
Hmm.
enjoyed both by foreigners and Indians at the same time. So that was always
Yes.
my struggle, and we have now
Yeah, my
such a
colleague
large
and
repertoire of
friend
recipes.
Rose, who
Thank you.
had a meal at your restaurant, who actually introduced me to you, was raving about how amazing your food is. And the best part is you never tell people it's vegan, you just serve them like normal food. It's amazing. And food is a
Exactly.
big, big, brings a big change in people. So if people can find alternatives, I think there'll be more people who want to be vegan. And I'm so glad you're coming up with a module. More chefs means more food available in restaurants which are vegan or whole plant based.
Exactly.
So tell me something. Can you
Exactly.
give us some tips to our viewers? And also, because we have the World Vegan Day coming up on November 1st, is there anything that you would like to share with our viewers?
The first thing I would like to say is that plant-based food tastes amazing. It tastes so delicious. You just have to be open-minded and try to make it easier for you to try all of these recipes. For example, if we start to make our own coconut milk, if we start to make our own soya milk, or buy these, or if we have access to these alternatives from the market and we can afford them, we could definitely buy them. But making them in your house is so much better, so much wholesome and nutritious. And when we kind of make, let's say, we make our own dahi, we make our own making our own yogurt and milk kind of gives us that level of convenience.
Any plans for Bodhi greens?
I said that I no longer have a dream of having hundreds of restaurants across the country. I just want to have the finest of the finest restaurants and create training programs for students.
So, our next guest is Sharanya Naik. I'm so excited to introduce her. She's a uniquely gifted girl. She's just 22 years old and she loves to make content for children between 2.5 and 3. She always was interested in cooking. And during the lockdown period, she not only learned how to cook, she also established a home business from where she was giving people vegan delicacies all over Mumbai. Isn't that amazing? And her baby Arigato was launched. I want to know the entire journey and speak to her about it. So happy to have you, my chirpy, vibrant, beautiful Sharanya. Welcome to Pandemic Positive.
Thank you for the introduction.
Okay, Sharanya, so you'll have to tell us about how you how your life was before the pandemic struck our lives. How was it? What were you doing before the pandemic?
The life before pandemic, I was teaching in a play school named Peekaboo, and
Okay.
I used to teach kids from 2.5 to 3 years old kids, and I was very busy in creating content for my kids, and I also kept myself occupied in the evening by going for walks and drawing class.
Oh my God, that's a busy day. So, what was your state of mind when the lockdown was announced? Because you were so used to so much action through the day. What did you do and what happened?
The state of mind after the lockdown started, I didn't know what to do and where to go.
Okay, like all of us. So, what did you do to overcome the state of mind? How did you work around it?
So I really wanted to learn cooking. I really wanted to learn cooking. So Dr. Priya Bijlani, she approached us and she told us about cooking with kids with Madhura from, from Sharan.
Okay, so what did you, wow, that's interesting. So, what did you learn in this workshop? What are the dishes you learned to make?
The dishes which I learned was the golden pasta, the mini pizzas, the pancakes, the loaded nachos, and the banana with banana with almond idli cake.
Oh my God, that's quite a lot you learned in a class. Any other class or event you attended during the lockdown period?
I also did the salad revolution, the basic online course, and the global appetizers.
Oh my God, wow. That's amazing. You were a busy, busy girl through the lockdown, learning so many things for so many people. And then after learning all this, something magical happened. Arigato happened. So congratulations, Sharanya.
Thank you.
So let me also introduce you to Sharanya's mom, Jay, who's seated behind her. And Jay is going to tell us about how Arigato happened and a little bit about the whole process, because the viewers would like to know how you people got this idea and how you executed it.
Thank you, Sandhyaashree. Arigato is a Japanese word which means thank you, and we are eternally grateful to Sharan. The ease, joy, and glory with which the entire knowledge has been transmitted made it so inspiring and motivating for us to try out all the wonderful dishes that we learned during the lockdown. And the moment we experimented with all the dishes, we felt so wow that yes, dairy free and oil free food can be so delicious and nutritious. So the wow feeling when what we received, like when we receive something good from the universe, the next obvious thing for us to do is to want to reach out to our near and dear ones. So that's how the birth of Arigato, the compassionate vegan kitchen services started, whereby we
Okay.
all the beautiful delicacies that we've learned from Sharan and we started delivering across Mumbai.
Okay, that's amazing. And where do you people stay?
Vadala West.
Okay, for Vadala West, you are supplying all over Mumbai. All the Mumbaiites, you know where to order the golden pasta from. We have Sharanya giving it to us. Thank you. So, how do you feel cooking for others, Sharanya? What is the kind of feeling you get when you cook?
Like for cooking for others, I get a lot of happiness.
Okay. And when food is cooked with so much joy and love, I'm sure it tastes amazing. So now I would like to know, after you changed your lifestyle, you turned vegan, now you're practicing whole plant based. What is the most obvious change you saw in yourself physically?
Yes, like in my menstrual cycle, like earlier, for the first 3 days, I used to get a lot of pain, and I used to be on bed, and I used to keep on popping pills. But then, after being vegan, like my pain has reduced, and I'm a lot more active, and I don't have to pop any pills.
Oh my God, you're going to inspire so many youngsters. Imagine so many girls suffer from menstrual pain, menstrual cycle pain. I'm sure it's going to give them this is an evidence of what good food can do to your body. So, how was it about your mood swings? Because your mom told me that earlier you did have some mood swings. How about that? Did you see a change in that?
Yes, like after being vegan, I have no mood swings.
That's amazing. Amazing. I can't, like, it gives me so much joy to hear this. Lovely. And okay, now that physically you saw a change, mentally you saw a change, the biggest challenge people have is socially. How do you cope? How was your social environment? Your family, relatives, friends, how did you handle them? How did they receive you?
Like uh, socially the actually I had gone for a drive with my mama, and
Okay.
so like and he asked me for kulfi, and like
Okay.
so then I said no because I was vegan and I didn't get tempted.
And
Oh my.
Sandhyaashree, I
Yeah,
would like to
please.
add something here that we had a family gathering in Pune a couple of days back, and there was a royal spread. There was dal bati soaked in ghee, but it was very easy for Sharanya to stick to her firm mental resolve. She, instead of the batis which were made in ghee, she chose the kapli wheat parathas to go with the dal. So it was very, very effortless for her to maintain her diet.
Oh my God. You know what an inspiration you are, Sharanya, to actually see so much food and so soon have that willpower to say, this is not my food and this is not what I want to eat. I'm super impressed. I'm super joyful to hear this. So I would also like to know, now that you've coped socially, how was it for you? Is there any particular food you missed, which was non-vegan, and now because you're vegan, you can't eat it? Because many people have, I missed that particular dish because I turned vegan. Do you have anything like that?
No, really, I don't miss anything vegan because vegan has a lot of substitutes. So, like, if I want cheese, I have cashew cheese, and if I want curds, I have peanut curds, and if I want butter, I can have coconut butter, and if I want paneer, I can have tofu.
Oh my God, you're sorted. That's amazing. So, any documentary that you watched which actually inspired you, like, because a lot of people who want to see something to be more convinced analytically. So, if there is any particular documentary which you watched which helped you, you can share it with our viewers, please.
So yeah, so I follow the documentary named PETA. So yeah, so from that
Yeah, it's an irony. It's coincidence. I think both Varun and Sharanya both have watched PETA videos, so it's really interesting to know that. And I definitely want to know, with your growing awareness, I heard from your mom that you took one step more about the cosmetics that you're using. Tell me about that.
yeah, so like before being vegan and like before joining Sharan, like I used to use cosmetics with animal products, but so and like after being vegan and joining Sharan, I use animal products. I use I use products which are I use products which are cruelty free.
Oh my God, nice, very interesting. So, what are your plans for Arigato?
Do currently it's a kitchen based service, and we would like to convert our home into a small cafe where we can welcome small groups of people and serve them delicious, nutritious, vegan, oil free food.
Oh, that's very interesting. So, November 1st is World Vegan Day. Is there a message that you both would like to give the viewers?
Let compassion be your nature 24/7, not just a
Okay.
mood, a hobby, or a habit.
Yes, so true. It's so important to wear it on yourself and say, this is a part of me. It's not for a particular season, or it's not for just for an event. It's so true. It's so true. It's lovely message that you gave the audience. And Sharanya, I'm going to quickly bring you back for the question and answer session. So let me have a small presentation with our audience to reaffirm what we spoke about, so that we have a good conversation about what we heard from Sharanya and Varun. We'll come back to you very soon. So I'm sure all of you enjoyed listening to Varun and Sharanya. Let's go through what we heard from them. You know, so we had a chef entrepreneur special where we had Varun and Sharanya talk to us about how during the lockdown they reinvented themselves and found the new person within them. Varun found the teacher in him, and Sharanya found her ability to cook and serve people with love and compassion. So the tip number one, both of them are giving us is trust your instincts. Intuitions don't lie. It just doesn't lie. See, follow your instincts, because if you see Varun through his journey, his instincts told him to work with the animals. He was an activist. He went on to do advocacy, and then he went on to become an entrepreneur. At every stage, all he did was flow with his instincts. Same with Sharanya. Sharanya had a different life before, but when she felt I need to learn cooking, she just took up to cooking. And as she was cooking, she just felt I want to share this food with everybody else. That thought that I want to share this good food with others and actually help the animals took her to today having arigato. So just follow your instincts. Tip number two, Varun said it very clearly. Baby steps are very, very important. Start small, take baby steps. Remember what he said about his first restaurant? It was too expensive, it was too commercial, it was very difficult for him to manage. When he took it to a smaller place, lesser overheads, he found himself actually enjoying the whole process. Sharanya has been very careful and partnering with her mom. They are taking baby steps, and their dream is to now start a cafe at home with small set of people. So start small, take baby steps. Tip number 3, train to grow. If you see Varun worked with other chefs, learned about whole plant-based meals, learned how to make alternatives and provided it to people. Sharanya, through the lockdown, went for lots of training programs. She attended Sharan cooking classes, and today that training has actually given her the confidence to present her work to others. And today she's financially more independent than before. Isn't that amazing? Tip number 4. Yeah, another thing I want to tell, training is very important. Tip number 4, understand what is happening. Listen to what people are saying and then act upon it. It is very important to know what is the need of people, what is happening around us. Understand the market and people's psyche. Warren beautifully understood that people get very, very put off, or they lose interest when you put a board like it's whole plant based, it is vegan, or if he tries to tell people that it has no animal product. Instead, he chose to just serve good food. And when they had it, they never missed the animal in it. And they didn't even know the animal was absent in it. That food made people think, actually, I don't need to eat an animal to get my taste buds satisfied. Same with Sharanya. She realized that everybody has a compassionate side. Everybody wants to tap into it. And by she serving that delicious meal, they're actually evoking that compassion in everybody. Actually, it is just awakening within them. And that's what Jay was also trying to tell us. Let's not wear it for a reason. This season I will be vegan, or this is my time where prayer is I won't eat. Instead, just wear it as a part of you. It's always a part of you. Compassion is there every minute of your life, and you see how your life will change. Tip number 5, take Varun or Sharanya. As I told you, they had the passion and they had a purpose. Varun was very clear. It's not that the activist in him has died. Actually, the activist in him is so alive that he wants to save the animal, and he knows the best way to save the animal is to feed the taste buds of people. And when they eat right, naturally they are going to move away from the animals. And the activist in him brought about the chef outside. The passion and purpose together today has worked out as a profit. And same with Sharanya. She was passionate to help, and she had a purpose because she was compassionate. She's an animal lover, and today she is having a profit out of it. So follow your soul. It actually knows the way. It just knows the way. You don't need any kind of Google map to tell you where to get. The inner calling rather than just a business. The fact that I have this calling that I want to help. Every time I do something, I always tell myself, my true need to help others, my true need to reach brings me people around me. There's so many people I meet through the pandemic positive, and it's a beautiful, purposeful way of living my life. So your soul knows the path. Trust your inner instincts. So both of them are on Instagram. Though Sharanya has a private account, you can follow them and you can get more information about them and what they are doing.